In the previous episode...
Reporting from St. Samthins, Shane McLaughlin of Galway Bay, AM.
Hello everybody, welcome back to The Letter. In the previous episode, Marianne encountered the ghost lady for the first time, and things are about to start ramping up, I think. Let's get into it. I think we had a choice to make. Okay, yeah, so I was deciding on whether I wanted to be on Hannah's or Luke's side. Obviously, I always want to be on Hannah's side because fuck Luke. So, I forgot which side was which because they sound really similar. It sounds fair, I think it's Hannah's. We can compromise as Luke, so I'm gonna say it sounds fair. Mrs. Wright? Oh wait. Yeah, okay, that's good. Now Hannah fucking loves us. Okay, so Mrs. Wright has her points, though I really didn't want to butt into the spat of a husband and a wife. But with the way the two were looking at me to settle this, I might as well just keep the facts instead of giving opinion.
Mr. Wright, your plan isn't quite feasible from an architectural perspective. I'm not even sure how much we can do without closer inspection. Well, the one about the garage, at least. A walk-in closet is easy enough, but the garage?
See, a garage isn't architecturally feasible and it isn't going to be financially sound as well. We're already going to spend a lot on your other requests. You have several acres of land to park on already.
What? Did you calculate that on the fly? Financially sound my foot. You're probably just thinking up of imaginary numbers.
Didn't Hannah have a degree in, accounting?
Might I remind you that I was a financial manager? I also looked over and approved the expenses of our other houses. I know the rough costs of these things by now, love.
I remembered, and Luke's her husband.
Masters in Business Administration, major in accounting. Sometimes I think you forget that I'm not as dumb as I act.
Okay, in the UK we don't have majors and minors, so... That catches my attention more than anything. It sounds more unbelievable than the whiskey playing the piano. She really didn't seem like the type.
Business administration and accounting? What university?
Lux upon you, of course. Go Lux Dragons, red and gold.
Excuse me, how about we move on this chit-chat ahead and do whatever else needs to be done sometime today? I had to cancel my appointments for this, you know. We might as well do a proper inspection with the designer this time, just to get it out of the way.
Yes, no time like the present. You want a thorough inspection? Might as well do it now. We actually took another look at the property yesterday, though it was brief. But I'm sure you would want to see it yourself, to spot anything we might have missed.
It's not like I have much of a choice, do I? Monday, October 24th. The mansion's arrangements were discussed over breakfast. During the meeting, the Wright couple had an argument about the mansion's arrangements. In the end, they decided a visit will settle it. They reused arrangement twice, which made the sentence structure flow weird. Riding to the Ermengarde mansion in their rice is an awkward affair. Not only am I worried about scuffing the expensive leather seats, but I'm also worried about getting in the middle of another couple's spat. With the tension thick in the air, I can feel them staring at each other any time. Nobody is saying anything, up until Mr. Wright tells his valet to turn the damn radio off. And for a moment, I think that he might start. But instead, he just stays quiet, and so do the rest of us. In the end, the sufferable silence stays. Ooh, good sentence. I have never been so glad to see a house. Stepping out of the car and up to the mansion meant the end of an uncomfortable ride, and I can finally take a deep breath of fresh air. The beauty of the place never fails to make me gaze and wonder every time I see it as well. Mrs. Wright moves towards the front door, keys in hand, and I can already hear Mr. Wright plotting.
All right, Johans, we're going to go in, but I want you to look around the place. Familiarize yourself with it. Know every nook and cranny, every inch of the lot. Go and see where we can put that vineyard and the other things we talked about. We'll want to know where to station security as well, so go around the perimeter and figure it out.
Scout the property and circle the perimeter on foot. You do know this is 46 acres of land, sir.
Well, you are not driving a car over the grass. Put those long, spidery legs of yours to good use. I didn't hire you to stand around and look intimidating.
I can see why Johans doesn't like him now. I mean, they'd have stables, just give him a horse.
Go, mush.
Someday, I'd like to ask how Johans can even stand and tolerate the man. He's probably paid like 100k a year. Why doesn't he just quit? Certainly the pay can't be that good. Even I'm a bit put off by our mutual employer, and the only thing that keeps me from bailing is the fact that we've already signed a contract. I mean, surely Johannes has also signed a contract. At least I'll only be working with them during the duration of the project. He works with them every day.
Sometimes I think you hired me to make me suffer for your amusement.
Someday I'd ask. I feel a bit bad for him. If it's any consolation, he'll be away from Mr. Wright, if only for a little while. We're able to enter the mansion after a bit of standing out there in the sun. The wretched, straight sunlight that is far too alien and rare. There had been a bit of a problem with the missus not knowing which keys was which. The first item on the agenda would be the grand staircase. It seemed sturdy during the open house, but a closer inspection might say otherwise. There are no obvious marks of damage nor wear and tear, probably rethreaded during renovations. Peeking under the grand carpet, the wood is properly installed with the bark placed down to prevent cupping. The carpet itself could use a vacuum, though I have no idea what this terminology means. Structural conditions, from what I can see without actually dismantling the thing, look to be in good shape, and the handrails and support posts are firm. The work on it should be commended. I can't look much more into the rest of the foyer, however, because Mr. Wright starts to hurry us into checking the dining hall.
So, what do you think? Certainly we can't turn this area into a garage.
It's Jacobean architecture. I'd say these would be pilasters and not buttresses, but you never really know.
What? Okay, I looked it up and I don't think that sentence makes any sense.
They really liked mixing up these elements. You could say it was pretty avant-garde at the time. We might hit a support beam if we're not careful.
And in layman's terms?
From what I see here, we could risk great damage to the house if we try to turn the dining hall into a garage.
The man didn't look too pleased at this. There's a look of disappointment before he sighs and looks around the place with an air of defeat. Aw, sad Luke. When he moves to speak, I dread another unreasonable demand again.
This will stay a dining hall then. But if I may have another request instead, at least spruce the place up with some flowers, some plants or something. It feels so old and dead in here.
That's hardly unreasonable. Daffodils are a must, I presume.
Aw, the look that passes between the two of them, there's a genuine look of fondness there. This is the first time I've seen such an exchange between the two of them. If anyone are to see them like this, there is little doubt that they loved each other. Past tense.
Of course. And I want a garden full of them.
I hate daffodils.
Now, if you excuse me, I'd like to look at the rest of the house. I'll just be around here downstairs, if anybody needs me.
That leaves Mrs. Wright and I.
He's quite fond of them, you know.
I can imagine. He looked terribly upset when we told him he can't have his garage.
I meant the daffodils. We always have a vase full of them in every house we own. Somewhere, I'd like to think. They may be about his mother. He never talks about her. I don't even know her name.
Should she be revealing this to her interior designer?
He likes to flatter, claim that they remind him of me, but he's always loved the flowers, even before we married.
Much like the piano, I didn't take him for a person who liked flowers. Daffodils, at least. What's next? Am I going to find out that Mr. Wright saves kittens from burning buildings?
I'll go and snoop about upstairs. You go and do whatever it is that you have to do.
When she goes without even asking if I need her here, I'm left standing to stare at the walls. Really, I don't need to do a thorough inspection of the building itself. It isn't really part of an interior designer's job. You need a surveyor for that. But the architect in me is committed to doing this task with every project. If I'm going to make a living space that have both form and function, I might as well make sure that the entirety of it is safe for my clients. Since I'm already here, I roam around the dining hall to check things off my punch list, if you will. But when it's time to move on, I hesitate. Mr. Wright said he would be somewhere around here on the ground floor, and I really didn't want to be alone with whiskey. I have to look through the place eventually, sure, but on the other hand, I can do it later when he's gone. I can go upstairs first if I want to. Which floor should I go to first? I mean, like, I will always favor Hannah, but now I'm kind of curious about Luke. I mean, we've been shitting on Luke so much. Should we, like, throw him a bone? Okay, so in 2 days' time is the ball with Luke getting smashed on absinthe. Nah, Luke has no redeemable qualities except we love to hate him. I've already seen enough of this floor during the open house. Of course, I know this is just a convenient excuse. I just don't want to be in the same room as Whiskey anytime soon. So I might as well go upstairs first. The banisters on the grand staircase landing are solid and at proper height. Any lower and they would be trouble. There's a small catch on the carpet though, but as long as nobody tries to run down the stairs until it gets fixed, things should be alright. Foreshadowing. And the stained glass? Art. Restored, no doubt, in the image of the Lady and Lord of Ermengarde. Or it was supposed to be until Lady Charlotte's fiancé was brutally murdered. By a witch. A witch of all things! From what I've read, you'd think the historians of this place would be a lot more scrutinizing, filtering out stuff like that. I'm amazed they bothered with it, instead of replacing some generic cookie-cutter design. This entire piece alone would have cost roughly 500, even millions of pounds. Lady Charlotte Ermengarde and her beloved. Looking at the mosaic, it's not too far of a stretch to the imagination to believe that the depicted images could be Mr. and Mrs. Wright. It can be easily assumed as such if one doesn't know the history of the mansion. Really, a place like this should be protected by the government as a landmark. I believe this would be classified as a grade 2 building, which means that you're not allowed to make any exterior changes to it, if we're going off of, like, historicness. What can I do about it? Walking into the East Wing, I tried to go into the theatre, but is met with an obstacle. The obstacle that is locked doors. 2 doors, and both of them are locked. I'd be frustrated, would be, if I already hadn't snuck off while the Wrights were having their little business meeting with Miss Cooper before to take a peek. With what Mr. Wright wanted, we'd have to install a powerful projector, the type they used in cinemas, and a projection screen. The seats would have to be re-upholstered if they're to be any comfortable, and the walls would have to be covered in dark material, paint, wallpaper, or install wall-to-wall carpeting. Really, of all the rooms I could be jealous of, it's this one. I could just picture myself in there, watching old kung fu flicks on a weekend-long marathon. Makes me wonder what kind of movies Mrs. Wright would like. Rom-coms, perhaps. Her husband, on the other hand, I'd rather not think about it. Okay, I'm going to say that Luke likes rom-coms and Hannah likes really gory historical documentaries. In the middle of my notation and planning, I don't even realize that I'm not alone until I'm caught standing in front of a locked door like a fool.
Were you meaning to go in there? I'm afraid we won't be able to open it up today.
Oh well, I wanted to, but it's fine. I can still survey the rest of the place.
Apologies, but a key was missing when they were handed over. They told us that they'd get right back to us with it.
What? But aren't they supposed to hand over all the keys once property changes hands? That can be grounds to file a complaint.
Why don't you just get the locks changed?
They were already kind enough to let us move in so early. There's no need to raise a fuss about it. Worst comes to worst, we can call for a locksmith.
The air is heavy and somber when she grows quiet and glances out the window. Out towards the vast expanse that surrounded what would be their house. Oh look, I can see Johann's. Their home. Then she looks back at me with a sigh and a bitter smile.
Flowers. Yellow flowers. Daffodils, dandelions, and sunflowers and the sort all up front. Just a whole garden of them. They'll make the house look lovely, won't they?
Of course. A garden is a wonderful addition to any home.
As I say this, her eyes roam over me, scrutinizing and thoughtful. I have to hold back the shiver that threatens to run down my spine at being inspected so closely.
Yes, it must be nice.
We're still talking about the gardens, yes?
I mean not having to worry about what another person thinks of you.
What do you mean by that?
She lifts her hand and points to her wedding ring before it falls listlessly to her side.
Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I didn't marry Luke.
Ooh.
There'll be no fights about walk-in closets or silly helipads. I could do with this place as my heart desires until there's nothing but content. Then again, I wouldn't have bought this place if it wasn't a gift for him. I probably wouldn't even be in Luxbourne if it wasn't for him.
Wait, so the house is a gift for him and yet she won't give him the garage?
Maybe I would have moved to London, Manchester, or Birmingham. I might have even left the country altogether.
It's Birmingham?
France, Germany, Spain, Canada, Sweden, even America. The possibilities would have been endless.
I don't know what to say to that. What is there to say?
I'm sorry, I must sound so petty and ungrateful. I do love him. So very much, even if he can be a bit difficult at times.
A bit.
Oh no, not at all. I'm just confused why you're telling me this, of all people.
Just a whim, I think. Just flights of fancy, that's all. Don't you ever think about one decision you've made in your life and wonder how much would change if you chose to do things differently?
I try not to dwell on the past, ma'am.
The keyword is try, of course. Thinking of the past brings up too many ghosts. Memories of her. And I do wonder what would change if I just said yes when she asked for me. Maybe she'd still be with me. I return to the present, just like I said. I try not to dwell on the past. Why don't you decide on your own? You must have been quite the pair. I want to do this one. Oof, oof. Her worries seem simple enough. I mean, it doesn't have to be as difficult as she makes it out to be, right?
Why don't you decide on your own?
I meant nothing against Mr. Wright, of course. The whiskey buggered me to no end. By law, she would be the owner of the house. Well, unless they signed a joint property ownership anyway, which is a rare thing as far as I know, especially among these highbrow types. Sure, they could actually love their spouse. I don't doubt the possibility. But money is money, and it makes people do the most horrible things sometimes.
It's your house. You can paint the whole place pink if you want, and there's not much he can do.
The somber expression she had changes to a look of content.
I could, but we are husband and wife. Equal partners and married, Marianne, though I can see that you don't understand.
Oof.
This is his home as much as it is mine. I'm not going to go behind his back over a room. And how dare you suggest that?
Ooh, bad choice. I want to go back and change it, but I'm not going to, okay? Although I really want to. How do I even talk her down without causing further offense? It's in my attempt to shake off my own drama that I end up tripping right into theirs. Because really, I have no business meddling in the affairs of my clients unless it involved interior design or architecture. Yet here I am, opening my mouth and yapping. I do hate to see a good woman down.
That's not what I meant by it. I just mean that maybe you don't have to get the approval of your husband all the time. Or, well, okay, fine. I know nothing about married life, Mrs. Wright. You're right about that. But I still think you're allowed your indulgences every now and then.
Of course, my form of indulgent meant buying old slate 78 RPM country records which I don't even dare use with my gramophone. For her, it could very well be buying entire houses.
That's just my take on it. A perfect relationship is as rare as hen's teeth. You got what you got. I mean, you're doing well enough without my advice. Sure, look it.
That looks to placate her somewhat. She looks away and starts to favour the view outside once more with a faraway look in her eyes.
Feel free to look around the rest of the house. Everything but the theatre should be open. Just call if there's need of me.
Of course, Mrs. Wright.
I really shouldn't have opened my big mouth in the first place. This sort of thing only gets me in trouble. Keep it clean, keep it simple, and stick to business, that's it. Be professional. But I failed to do that just because of a pretty face. When she turns to leave, she glances back at me before disappearing into the foyer. I look out the window from where she was standing, and I move on, alone with nothing but my thoughts and her.
Finally, some peace and quiet.
Thought the old biddy would never leave.
It's such a madness, this hearing things. I reckon it's a stress, though I don't know what exactly I'm stressed about. If meeting Mrs. Wright has thrown me for a loop, I'd be worried. If I'm developing some sort of psychosis or disorder, well, I'd call a doctor. But hopefully it isn't that, not right here and not right now. I mean, it could just be that personal talking cricket, the conscience, so to speak, and I'm only noticing now, though if it is, it isn't very helpful. Pushing the dilemma of voices in my head aside, I go back to work. But I can barely make a few steps before everything tilts and shifts. I don't really stumble, but it feels like I'm being thrown off my feet and the rest of the world just follows. Though my feet stay firmly on the ground, and even if I stay mostly upright, I feel like I've been heaved and put off balance. I have to close my eyes in the hopes of willing the sudden sense of vertigo away, but when I open them... well, I don't feel any less sick because of the sight that greets me. Blood dripped from the walls and the ceiling, pooling downwards and seeping into the curtains and the carpet. A wave of nausea, stronger than the last, hits me along with the overpowering stench of blood and gore. I want to bolt, the rational part of my head is telling me to flee. And I would have gladly done it if asked, if only I didn't hear her.
In here, Marianne. Come on, I have something to show you.
Coming, my love. I could have ignored it, would have ignored it, if I only heard it in my head. But I swear this time it's coming from one of the rooms. Much further in, into the study. I wish I had the floor plans right now. And I feel compelled to pay attention. I can't just turn around and leave. Not when it's her. I don't even think as I follow the sound of her voice. Lorraine! Thick as thieves, what is forbidden is the most tempting. Lovely Amanda Lorraine Lacerfiona. She was my friend, the only one that I had at St. Samanthan's. I was a scholar, the charity case, in a school for privileged and prestigious young girls. They all looked down at me if they cared to look at me or acknowledge my presence at all. All except her.
Oh, stop your crying. You know better than to listen to Maeve.
Maeve?
Why, I ought to teach that butterface a lesson.
Wait, no, lass! I don't want you getting into trouble with the sisters again!
Relax. It's not like I'm going to stomp her and her lackey's arses flat like last time.
Come on, let's just go back to our dorm room. I don't want to be on my Tobler while you go get yourself punished.
You'll be fine. Gip's there with you.
Lorraine was there when I needed her, through my highs and lows. Having her as a friend made being in a strange school, away from my father, all the more tolerable. She saw this poor, helpless girl who was kept down and shunned by everyone else, and being the kind soul that she was, she rescued me. So brave, so beautiful. She was something else.
I'll eat all the chocolates stashed away in your closet if you go.
I can get more. Just don't go complaining to me if you get a tummy ache because of that.
Well, you don't want to get detention on a weekend, do you? It's a Friday. We can go to town and have some karaoke. And we can have a go at druids and demons again. You're not going to miss that just because of Maeve, are you?
Sometimes I question what I did to deserve a friend like her. In the darkest corners of my mind, where traitorous thoughts lurked, I thought she only felt sorry for me. Maybe she was just being a good Samaritan, offering a helping hand. And perhaps I had been too selfish to return the favor.
You have a point. I'll just kick her arse on Monday then.
That's not what I mean.
I know what you mean, Em.
Wait, where are you going? You just told me you wouldn't cause trouble.
I still have something to do. Don't worry, it's not like I'm going to burn down her dorm room or something criminal like that. I'm just going to talk to her. Maybe it'll make it so that her room smells like a dog's air biscuit. That'll make it an excellent weekend. I'll see you in a bit, Marianne. Lots of tobblers.
Because when she told me that she loved me, I couldn't admit that I felt the same way. Not to her and not even to myself. It was wrong. I was taught that way. Husband and wife, one man and woman. Unclean and pure. I prayed for her and I, for our sins and for salvation. I wanted to apologize for disregarding her feelings so callously. It must have been like a slap to the face for her. But life had gotten in the way. Exams, which were trivial in hindsight now, took top priority. I had to keep my grades up to keep my scholarship for my father. I told myself I would apologize to her when those were over, that I needed to focus first and not let anything distract me. It had been easy when she avoided me like the plague. She was upset, I get that. I thought I had time to make things right, but...
At 7 in the morning, students found a 5th year dead, assumed to have fallen from her dormitory window.
They told us that it was an accident. That was the official statement. But I knew better. She was dead because of me.
Maeve had a hook and I kicked the bucket, didn't she?
Remember me?
Ding dong, the witch is dead!
She had, though she didn't say which, Lorraine.
But at least Maeve had the courage to admit how she felt about me.
I don't even know how long I've been stuck here in a trance. In the mirror, Lorraine smiles at me. She's as beautiful as I remember her. But then... I feel bile rise up in my throat as her clean image warps into how she looked like when they had found her dead, lying on the cold, hard ground. God Saint Tifna. Great wonder worker in every affliction of mind and body, help me. I'm seeing things, hearing things. Am I going completely insane? Looking everywhere but at her, I hope and pray that it's enough to will whatever this is to go away. It doesn't even immediately register in my head that I can just leave.
You, on the other hand, can't even look me in the eye.
This isn't real. You're not. You're dead.
I'm dead. Because of you. And you won't even look at me. Look at me.
My breathing quickens, and I can feel my heart being torn apart by her words.
I'm so sorry, Lorraine.
Look at me!
I can't take it because she's right. It was my fault. The least I can do is look at what I've done. Lorraine, broken and bleeding, looks at me with such hate-filled eyes. An unnatural smile stretches across her face, and I can only see malice in it. Then she lunges as the mirror ripples around her form, the glass parting like the water surface for her. I feel like I'm about to have a quick time event. She grips my shoulders, and I can feel her nails dig deep, sharp, even through the fabric of my clothes.
There you are. Why won't you love me?
Daredevil, win 4 QuickTime events in normal difficulty without skipping. 4! Apologies spill through my lips as tears cloud my vision. But I won't give in to this madness. With every bit of strength I have left, I struggle to get away from her. Fear grips and threatens to choke me. I endure, I escape, and without turning back, I stumble back out. In my panic, I don't even care to look where I'm going. With one hand on the wall to steady me, I just hobble as fast as I can away from the study, away from that mirror. Freedom is bittersweet. I am free from the madness it seems, as running out into the hallway reveals it to be in pristine condition. But it means I've turned my back on Lorraine, again. You should have hugged her. I have no plans of stopping, not until I know I'm safe. And if that means walking back to Luxbourne, as ridiculous as the idea is, then so be it. Someone suddenly grabs hold of me, however. Fingers digging deep into my shoulder and my heart nearly stops. My body seizes and I nearly scream.
Marianne, you look awful. I mean, not awful, but did something happen? Are you all right?
Mrs. Wright, I...
Aww. Boob hug. Without thinking, I sought comfort seeing that it wasn't her. It's a sudden impulsive thing to do, and had I been in better condition, I wouldn't even dare of doing such a thing. But I didn't know what else to do. Though I know I shouldn't have, her warmth, her scent, they grounded me. She is intoxicating.
Marianne, what's going on? Oh, you're shaking like a leaf.
Tremors run through my body as soon as my mind realized I am no longer in danger. I wanted to cry, scream about what I've seen, but like a scared child, I couldn't control myself. My mind couldn't reconcile with what I had seen. I should just write it off as a figment of my imagination, yet I can still feel her nails cutting into my skin.
Are you sick? Should I call for a doctor?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Wright. Just feeling a little woozy and lightheaded is all.
Let's get you somewhere to sit down then. Come on, don't worry, I have you.
A lie, but a whole lot less complicated than telling her I was attacked by a dead girl. When the feeling of fear eases, I feel nothing but shame for my actions. I quickly back away as I clear my throat and nod my thanks.
I think I've had enough looking around. If it's all right with you and Mr. Wright, I'll meet you outside.
If you're sure, I'll have the car started. Do you need assistance heading downstairs?
I'm all right, ma'am. Just go on ahead and I'll be right there.
It seems to placate her worries, though only for a brief second. Before she heads down, I don't miss the concerned glance she shoots my way, hidden quickly under another smile. I won't begrudge her for it, that worry. The look on my face must have been a strange enough sight on its own. Even I am still reeling from whatever that was. Her voice still whispers in my ears. After all those years, she's still... No, Marianne. Shaking my head of the thoughts, I drag in a breath and follow shortly after Mrs. Wright. Whatever has happened in the past, it's long gone, only memories now. And those are things I can no longer bring back. Well, I guess we'll end the episode here, guys. A very, very eventful turn of events this episode. A lot of potential thumbnails. Let's see which one I decide on. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Let's see what happens in the next episode of Marianne's arc. Everybody have a wonderful day, and I will see you all on the next episode. Bye!